Have you ever finished watching something and immediately thought, I just need someone to talk to about this? That's why we're here. I'm Mia.
And I'm Jerry. We realized something recently. We spend hours watching incredible documentaries, TV series, movies, and books, and then we have nowhere to put all of the thoughts afterwards. Our partners either haven't watched the shows, or they definitely don't want a 40-minute conversation about why one fictional breakup perfectly captured emotional safety, or how a documentary may have completely changed the way we think about human behavior. So we decided to have those conversations here instead.
This isn't a celebrity gossip podcast. We're not recapping every episode of the latest reality show. And just so we're clear, there will be absolutely no maths. We're much more interested in what stories reveal about people.
Why certain characters stay with us, why healthy relationships on screen suddenly feel revolutionary, why documentaries make us question ourselves, and why a TV show can completely change the conversation around sex and parenting, friendship, or even masculinity.
We'll probably wander into philosophy,
Definitely feminism,
human behavior,
and culture.
the occasional marketing tangent, and a lot of, wait, did you notice that too?
So welcome to Chemistry Read. The credits might have rolled, but the conversation is just getting started.
So why did we call it Chemistry Read?
Right, so before two actors get cast opposite each other, they do something called a chemistry read. It's not about whether they can act, it's about whether the two of them together can create something neither of them could do alone. That's basically us, right? It's all about the spark. And we talk a lot about love and the importance of chemistry in our lives, which can come in many forms. And the final reason, all the other names we liked were already taken. Rude. I'm so excited about being here, Mia.
Oh my God, me too. We are finally turning our messages and our voice notes into a recorded episode.
And women are just so keen to talk about this show.
And especially mums in their 40s, like you and I, with perhaps a little bit too much time on our hands of an evening these days. And off campus has just completely set us all off. Why that show in particular?
I was told from a girlfriend, also in her 40s, to watch it. And I was like, okay, I will. And a few days later, she's like, have you watched it? I'm like, no, not yet, but I will. Another message later, I'm like, okay, well, clearly I have to sit down and watch this. And it was absolutely hooked ever since. It is the only show that I've ever stopped watching and the next night started it straight away again.
I did the exact same thing. Everyone was talking about it at this retreat that we went on, and it seemed like there were people at the retreat going home to watch it after dinner. And so as soon as I got home from the retreat, I turned it on. And yeah, I've seen the whole season twice and have gone back to watch specific bits. But full disclosure, I haven't read the books, and I'm considering that might be my next step.
Okay, I haven't read the books either, but I'm very much a girl that I have to read the books first before watching a show. I feel like I can't go the other way because Garrett is who he is.
Yeah. But I think we can read a couple of the books and then we can get ahead before the next season.
Right. Well, apparently the books are a little bit different from what happens in the series and out of order as well.
So this show is an absolute phenomenon at this point. People are buying merch, people are rereading the books. There's even a festival called Obsessed Fest. Why do you think this show in particular has set everyone off?
I think for women of our era, there's definitely an element of nostalgia there. I was a One Tree Hill girly, Dawson Creek, and there was a lot about this show that brought that back for me, but obviously with that 2026 lens over the top.
For me, the big difference with Off Campus compared to everything else that I've seen recently is that it showed us for the first time in as long as I can remember that love doesn't need to be toxic in order for it to be incredibly steamy. And if we compare it to shows that I love, like One Tree Hill, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, Tell Me Lies, those are super, super toxic. There's jealousy, there's controlling behavior, there's obsession, and it's all been framed as romantic. And watching those, I was like, this is actually borderline creepy, but I'm also kind of into like the love story part. And I often questioned whether you needed one, with the other, or whether they could exist separately. And they can.
Yeah. Like, where are our red flags for some of the male characters in Off Campus? And I think the jealousy that exists in that show, it makes sense. Like Justin and that relationship between him and Hannah, there is a level of jealousy there for Garrett, but it's not this, he's not punching him out at parties, like you would have seen, I guess, in the kind of early 2000 version.
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly into him. So then once they actually get together, of course he's going to be jealous of him because she's already shown that she's interested in him. But then in the TV series, Hannah walks into the male locker room and sees a whole lot of penises. And Garrett doesn't seem to be fazed at all because he's representing a man who's like, look, I don't need to be jealous of every man on the planet. I only need to be jealous of the men that she has previously told me she's interested in.
Yeah. And it's not even like when she kissed Logan in the gym, that was an interesting moment for Garrett's character because he didn't really seem to react to that. So it's not this physical kind of she's mine, you can't have her type jealousy. It is more of that he wants that emotional attachment. He wants that relationship element and doesn't want to share that with Justin, I guess.
Yeah, that was our first text about the show, Jerry. That was the first time I was like, why did she kiss Logan in the gym? Like, I didn't quite understand that moment. Like, I felt that it was a little bit clunky. There was something about blushing, but I never saw a blush. And I remember replying to you saying, I felt like this was a missed opportunity for the makeup artist to like show us her blushing.
And it would have been great to see Logan blushing after, I think, the kiss with him as well. But I do think it was the first time where we saw Hannah really exert her own sense of kind of sexual confidence in that relationship with Garrett. And I think that also kind of really helped to hook him in.
Yeah.
So I think talking about these kind of idea of love and the romance part is really important. And obviously, I guess, reawakened for us that the love is important. But we also need to talk about just how damn sexy some of these characters are. For you, what was the sexiest moment of the show?
Oh my God, hands down, the sexiest moment of the show was not their lovemaking. It was when Garrett agrees to give Hannah an orgasm. And he knows it's going to cause him pain to do so because he's clearly quite into her, right? But he takes it so seriously. He's like, hang on, I have got a task and I have to perform this task. Otherwise, if he screws this up, it could continue to fuck her up forever. It could make things worse. And yeah, I just love the tenacity of the responsibility that he takes. And he doesn't treat it like a cheeky backdoor way of getting into her pants and getting what he wants. Anyway, I just thought that was infuriatingly hot.
He even asked Dean for advice.
Oh my God, how great was like going to Dean for advice and then Dean sort of dropping the facade of just being this playboy and actually giving good advice.
Yeah, because I mean, we would have thought that Dean would have just anatomically said the best way to give a girl orgasm is this way, right? Because he is the maverick, he is the roller coaster. So it's so unexpected to then, it's not about that, it's about trust and consent. And then we were all swooning, even more, I think.
He is so maverick. He gave me Top Gun vibes when I was watching him. I was like, they should have totally cast that guy in Top Gun 2. Oh. Like, so good. Anyway, before we get talking about another show, what was your sexiest moment?
Okay, so I don't think it's very fair because I do think you picked the right answer because there is only one. And that kind of, when she had that orgasm with Claire, was very sexy. But I am just such a sucker for the grand gestures, like in that really romantic style. And I love the flip that Hannah was the one that made that big gesture to Garrett on the rink when she sings to him from the kind of sound box. That moment for me was built such amazing tension. And then when he gets up there in the room with her, the way he grabs her by the front of the jeans and pulls her in for a kiss, I was like dying inside. And I think that really built that beautiful romance, but also that sexual tension was there as well, like really well mixed. So that is my, I think, sexiest moment. But I also really love how dorky he dances with her in the room to help her relax.
Yeah.
Because again, I just think seeing that silly side of like that athletic jock character was really lovely.
Yeah. And how he asks her if she wants to take off the dress because she's clearly not comfortable. She's yanking at it. She's pulling it down. And he's like, hey, we need to like take the temperature way down here.
Yeah, he notices things, Mia.
Yeah.
Like, and I think we notice that the male character notices things. And it's nice to be noticed and for someone to notice when you are feeling a bit uncomfortable or unsure or unhappy and then kind of making that effort to make it better for you. I thought that was really lovely.
Yeah. I mean, he's not perfect. He's got his flaws, but he's so emotionally safe. And that is really hot. We don't need the dangerous bad boy who ghosts us. Emotionally safe is hot. So hot.
So hot. Agreed. It's not something I think we've seen a lot of in the shows and things that we have watched. And I don't think it's just Hannah and Garrett that really exhibit that emotional safety. So do you have other characters in the show that really exhibited that for you?
I feel like Allie and Dean much more than Allie and Shawn. Shawn, I know, was problematic for you.
Can we play a boo soundtrack over this part of the podcast, please? Shawn, boo.
Sure can. Yeah.
Allie and Dean, emotional safety. Do you think the emotional safety was more there for Dean to let his guard down with Allie somehow?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're going to see so much more of their relationship in season 2, which I'm really excited for. But I just thought that compared to Shawn, Dean was very much about letting Allie be Allie. And absolutely, Allie was able to make Dean feel comfortable to explore his own feelings. Whereas what were they called?
Puck bunnies.
Puck bunnies. Yeah, they were. There wasn't much conversation going on there between the puck bunnies.
No, I loved the New York scene when she went to New York to spend the night with Dean. Just felt very grown up, I think, for the age and stage of those characters. And I think for Dean's character, he kind of matures a lot in that experience with Allie, which I quite liked. Where Shawn, on the other hand, like there was no adventure. There was no sense of fun or roller coaster rides with him. He was boring. He was uninspiring. And he didn't appreciate Allie for that kind of spunky, sparky, full of life character that she was. I think he was just dragging her down.
I found him to be a really cliche character in amongst all these other really emotionally nuanced and layered and interesting and deep and complicated characters. Then we had Shawn, who seemed to be reminiscent of a different book, of a different movie. He was so typical, but are you really going to go on and have a big acting career? Like, what about what was the town?
Vermont.
Vermont. What about Vermont and my parents' insurance company? Like, it really stood out like a sore thumb in amongst all these other incredible characters, Shawn. And if there's ever a time to believe that you're going to make it on Broadway, it's when you're in college.
Yeah,
it's not now when we're 44. It's when you're in college. So, like, I really didn't love that he was the one to try to yank her dreams away as opposed to, like, the parents who are thinking about what's best for her and all that sort of thing. It was him. I was like, get out of our screens.
Yes. And do you think that Allie should have felt bad for sleeping with Dean so soon after Shawn? Because that was a big pull for her. She was really struggling with that it was only 48 hours or whatever. If she was your girlfriend, you would have been like, yeah, girl, go for it. You're single.
Absolutely. I think the only reason she felt bad was because Shawn made her feel bad and was going to make her feel bad. But they had broken up like 4 times. As far as I'm concerned, that relationship was non-existent. Yeah.
And Allie, I think, really showed a sub-theme from Off Campus overall, which is this idea that it's okay for women's pleasure to be the forefront and that to be okay. Because remember at the start, she wanted to try that calendar, all those different positions with Shawn, and he was like, no, I'm not doing that. There was just no sense of fun, where normally I think it'd be portrayed that the male characters would be wanting to do things maybe a little bit more risque, and the females aren't shown as being characters who can enjoy passionate sex and whatever it may be. And women's pleasure takes a central theme in this show.
Yeah, so good. Love that, And also women's pleasure, because men can read subtext and nonverbal cues, whereas Shawn was not picking up on any nonverbal cues, where he's like, oh, do you want me to put a pillow under your butt? And she's like, you liked that last time. She's like, yeah, let's just do that. And it's like, read between the lines, mate.
Yeah. And then gets out of the shower with her and doesn't want to continue that conversation when the discussion does become more emotional. And like, Allie is so hot. Like, Shawn, you are punching above your weight, mate. You should be all in.
Totally. But like, again, if there's ever a time to sexually explore in a safe way, like by using contraception, having multiple partners, doing the one night stand thing, like you want to do it in college. You don't want to marry your high school sweetheart and then get to 40 and decide you need to cheat because you never had those experiences. Yeah. Like I'm very grateful that I had a life and I had a career before I met my husband.
Yeah. Sowed your wild oats, so to speak.
I really feel like I did. Yeah.
So we've talked about Shawn and Allie. We've talked about Allie and Dean as well. How do you feel about Logan and his crush on Hannah? Like, why did they include this in the show?
I don't know. I don't know that it was required. Hey, what do you think?
I don't want to say bad things about off-campus because we love it. But I think that the Logan's character in the show was just problematic for me. He never really found his space and his vibe. And I don't think it's because he didn't have a romantic partner, but I just felt a bit bad for Logan. I feel like he was always second best to Garrett on the ice. Financially, he was the poor kid that relied on Garrett for the media attention, and now he's second best in, landing the girl as well. So I just felt like at the end, he didn't tell anybody how he felt about Hannah. There was no action there. It's just, unless it's an open thread for a later season is the only kind of reason I can think about that I would have included that in there.
Well, he is the star of, I think, season 3.
You haven't told me this, Mia.
Oh, yeah,
Where's the message?
My sleuthing, yeah. I did see a really cute Instagram reel where the actor who plays Logan called up the actress that was going to play the female lead, and he gives her the part, which I thought was really clever behind the scenes. We'll link it in the show notes, but really clever, like keeping our momentum up for future seasons. I loved Logan's character because it explored the relationship with his sister. I love love and I love romantic love, but I also love non-romantic love. Right. And brother-sister love is also, or sister-sister love is such a great theme for me. Like, that is the whole premise of Frozen. It's not about the male characters. It is about two sisters. And like, that was like a whole revolution for Disney films to bring that into Frozen. Anyway, stay on task, Mia. Stay on task.
No, well, I mean, I think the sibling discussion's an interesting one because his sister, Jules, they feature a lot in the show.
Which I loved. And I loved that representation of Jules and of, those pronouns and normalizing that and showcasing such a lovable character and making them the hero. Making them one of the heroes of the show.
And again, I love that they don't bring it up as a thing. Like the show doesn't talk about Jules and their they, them, and their struggle with identity. Like it's not a thing because their identity is clear. Jules are who they are. And that's just normalized in the show. And then again, supported by her gorgeous brother who is, going to be there for her. They can argue and fight like siblings do. But in the end, he supports them like through and through, and their role is really interesting in that. Did you know that Logan is actually an amazing Broadway singer as well? Have you been getting that in your algorithm?
I did get that in my algorithm. Yes.
He was already so gorgeous.
Wasn't he in Hamilton? Was that the one?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a huge Hamilton fan, so I feel like I would have seen that coming. I can't remember the one that I saw them in the other day when I was watching, but I just know that he does have an incredible voice. So I'm sad that he wasn't in the karaoke episode. Like, why didn't they use him for that?
Yeah, true, true. What you said about them not making a big deal about Jules being transsexual was, I think, a recurring theme in the show. They didn't over explain things. They didn't explain, and this is why this is happening. It just was, which I feel is so refreshing because there are so many shows and movies that they're trying to include more themes that are inclusive and diverse and equitable, but it feels really put on and it feels really tokenistic. This wasn't. This was just, it is. It is what it is.
Absolutely. There's a great kids film called Strange New World that does that really well. If you ever want your kids to watch something that equally does that.
Whereas Toy Story 4 was a train wreck for me. Absolute
virtue signaling.
Oh my God, so much virtue signaling. We'll do a whole episode on that. But like, they already had Buzz and Woody, which is just like 3 incredible movies about this friendship between Buzz and Woody. And then they decided in season 4 that they would make Bo Peep a like character that had not a single line in 3 previous movies, the protagonist, and literally separated Buzz and Woody.
Back to Off Campus.
The breakup. We need to talk about the breakup.
So not uncommon in a romance. Like they need a breakup, right?
Well, yeah, no, not uncommon. You could see it coming a million miles away. So this particular breakup, it's a style. It's called the third act breakup. And it is like a very typical style in romance. And it has become quite predictable. And it's often near the end of the story, so the third act, when a couple separates because of a misunderstanding, a secret, a betrayal, a fear, or an external conflict. And the breakup creates the final emotional obstacle before they eventually reunite. And so, like, if you think about really common examples, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, 10 Things I Hate About You, the truth comes out and they split just before the end of the film. And what I don't love about a third act breakup, like I don't know about you, is that often it's so silly. It's like, oh, that could have been solved if you guys had just communicated better.
Yes. A small misunderstanding, has led to a...
Yeah. And also that you see it coming a million miles away. But I thought that the breakup in Off Campus was excellent.
Excellent. No notes from you, Mia.
Oh, I have notes, but it was, to me, it was earned. It was like, it was an inevitability after the day that they were having.
Yeah.
Where she realized that her abuser was going to be playing Garrett at the hockey match. Garrett was having the worst day of his life because he's just run into his dad and Hannah's not returning his texts and he's genuinely worried about her. And so like there was just that pressure building. And to me, it was an inevitability that this was going to end pretty badly that day.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would definitely agree. I think the characters were both really emotionally raw going into that moment. And Hannah was genuinely scared before the hockey game. She was already in that kind of fight or flight moment. And then to see Garrett be so violent on the ice did scare her, thus making Garrett's, biggest nightmare come true. But the strength in Garrett's character of therefore feeling like he needs to be the one to walk away because Hannah wouldn't is really, I guess, echoed back to his own mother who wouldn't walk away and his father's new wife, her name's escaping me, but same, she stayed because it was complicated. So in that moment, he knew that Hannah wasn't going to leave him despite the fear. And so he made that call for her, which I thought was such a big hero gesture. And I think we could accept it because of that third act breakup, knowing in the back of our minds, it'll be okay. They'll get back together.
That's exactly how I felt. I was like, this was bound to happen, but it's also really opened the door for them to reconcile pretty easily.
Yes.
What I thought was interesting, and I haven't read the books, but in my preparation for this, is that the breakup was completely different in the book. Like 100% different.
Tell me more.
Hannah is the one that breaks up with Garrett in the books. And it's not because she wants to, it's because of Phil, Garrett's father, who approaches Hannah and threatens to stop paying for Garrett's university tuition unless she leaves him. Hannah believes that Garrett has no way of staying at Briar U without his father's financial support, so she sacrifices the relationship to protect his future. She lies and she tells Garrett that she wants to see other people. Later, Garrett discovers his father's manipulation and reveals he has access to his late grandfather's trust fund, so he never actually needed Phil's money, and they reconcile. But the book's breakup is very much external. It's some sort of, what's that term, Jerry? Like deus ex machina, where it's like a plot twist that you don't see coming.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, hang on, this was never talked about before.
Yeah.
Like we never for a million years thought that Garrett had financial problems that would see him being role reversed. So it was kind of like a really left center thing. Whereas, and like that external obstacle, somebody else has forced their separation. Someone's meddled in their relationship, which makes it that predictable third act breakup. Whereas the breakup that they wrote in the TV show came from the characters, which I really liked. It came from what had happened before on the ice, which I thought was so much more powerful. That's why I think it's almost perfect, right? Because it was character driven. Garrett's greatest fear isn't losing hockey or Hannah, it's becoming Phil. And that's who he was thinking he was becoming when he hit that abuser on the ice. So the breakup grows directly out of everything that we've seen from him in the previous 8 episodes, which I thought was really, really well done and even more heartbreaking, right? Because it's not a misunderstanding. It is a fundamental, like you said, I have to make the hard right decision here.
And how he drove away from her in that parking lot with the tears rolling down her face. Like it absolutely felt gutted. I didn't know that that's how the breakup happened in the book, Mia. That's really interesting. And they kept maybe that storyline, but flipped it with Hannah with the showcase and losing the scholarship. Maybe that's kind of what inspired that storyline for her. Yeah. But that moment in the parking lot, I think it's a good opportunity to maybe jump over and talk about your love of Kierkegaard and the two truths and how the show did such a good job of, I guess, paying homage to that without naming it. Again, they trust their audience to make that connection, which I think brings this from like a really predictable rom-com feel-good thing to something actually at a more high level.
Totally. There were Easter eggs that they wanted the audience to find to keep the conversation going. I found this Threads quote from star.xo. I'll link it in the show notes. The breakup scene perfectly captured Kierkegaard's idea of two truths because both of them were right to feel the way they did, which made it all the more heartbreaking. In the breakup scene, they're both right. They each have a legitimate emotional response. Hannah was
scared.
Like, she never expected to see Garrett behave that way. She didn't want that. That's why she didn't go to the game. And Garrett was also right to say, hang on, I'm not right within myself. You can't possibly be with me until I work out that I am not Phil. I feel like in stories, we want heroes and we want villains, but real relationships don't have heroes and villains. They have two people who
complex humans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I did love that lesson that they learned together, I guess, through that philosophy class around the different philosophies with Kierkegaard and how proud Hannah was of Garrett when he nailed that, because he wasn't just your typical dumb jock, you know.
No.
He wanted to pass the class on his own merit and show that he was an intelligent guy, which I absolutely loved. He doesn't want to he realizes he has privilege, but he doesn't want to kind of ride anyone's coattails as well. And in that breakup scene, when he says to her, and I would do it again, like as in bash up the guy in the ice, I would do it again. I think that was a big moment for him to be like, maybe I really am like my dad. Like he was quite concerned because he did such a violent act, and he believes he would do it again, not because he was a good hockey player, but because he was an abusive piece of crap.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I was down for it.
So I loved the story. I loved the characters, but how they made off campus, and, you know, full kudos to the showrunner. It was incredible. So, you know, it's a modern show, but there was so much nostalgia. This is why millennial women like you and I are okay with obsessing over college students, because all the Dirty Dancing references, the Elton Johns, the iconic scenes that they recreated.
Yes. And that moment in the first episode when she said, I carried a watermelon, like that moment, I giggled. I'm a diehard Dirty Dancing fan. I've watched it over 100 times, not exaggerating. But at the end, when he comes back and makes that line about, I don't come into your dance space and you don't come into my dance space, which I think is a lesser known Dirty Dancing reference than the watermelon one. I think that was the millennial hook, all those nostalgic references to Dirty Dancing and Elton John and those kind of famous scenes, Heath Ledger singing. But they actually had the Gen Z more on the soundtrack.
Yes, interesting. So our friends at Reddit were able to go back and identify all the scenes that the showrunner recreated. So far on my list, I have 16 Candles, which is a John Hughes film. I'm a massive John Hughes fan. I've seen every John Hughes film ever made. Twilight, where they're playing chess, and Ellie and Dean are playing chess at the New York apartment. Legally Blonde. What else?
Elle.
Yeah. Elle is the bunny.
10 Things I Hate About You for sure. So that scene, that scene where he's singing on the steps, absolutely. I don't know if you'd agree, but is the bathtub scene in Friends where Chandler and Monica are in the bath together and then Joey walks in, so Monica goes under the water and Chandler's left holding the boat?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, you don't think the show's made for millennial women, but it absolutely is.
100% is. And then She's All That, kind of coming down the stairs.
Yes. And that all of a sudden a different outfit and your hair done, transforms her into
so good. What I loved about the show was the positive ripple effects. So, you know, emotional safety, positive relationships.
Toxic masculinity not being a thing.
Yes, totally. Recreating, you know, iconic scenes and nostalgia, but then also the musicians that have been absolutely catapulted as a result of Off Campus.
And actors. I would say that the actors and the musicians were pretty unknown for this.
Yeah.
If I hear G-Flip's Bed on Fire songs, full body goosebumps still every time. It is excellent.
Yeah. But my favorite Instagram reels at the moment are these, you know, indie artists, some from Australia, like George Alice, who is like, holy smokes, my career has absolutely just blown up because of Off Campus. And it gives me goosebumps because it's like this show has brought so many people up with it, as opposed to bringing people down, and as opposed to, you know, the music industry, the only people that make money are in the top 5%.
Right.
All the money to be made in the music industry is 5% of the artists. The rest of the 95% make fuck all, right? And then a show like Off Campus comes along and they're not playing, you know, the big hits, the, you know, U2, Coldplay. they're G-Flip, E-May, The Beaches, George Ellis, and we are living for it. And they are documenting it. They're like, so Off Campus contacted me like 2 years ago and asked me if they could use my song, and they explained the scene, and I said yes. And who the fuck was going to know that this is like the number one show?
And they resurfaced some old music as well and remade it and remixed it, and Cherry Pie being in there a couple of times. I thought they did a really good job with the music soundtrack. And a lot of I only noticed the second time I watched it. I feel like the first time I watched it, I was so entranced by the characters and the storyline. The music amplified the experience for me. But when I watched it the second time, I was able to see a lot more of the clever ways that they kind of use music to drive the storyline as well, and the feel-good stories that come from people like G-Flip or other more indie artists, and how it's impacted them is just feeling my algorithm at the moment. I don't know you, but I'm just being served off-campus content after off-campus content, and I'm totally okay with that.
Me too. G-Flip asked the cast to tattoo Off Campus on her thigh, and they all took it in turns to write a different letter. So like Belmont Camelli wrote like an O, and Ella Bright wrote like an F until it's spelt out Off Campus. I thought that was so cool. So cool. All right, rapid fire, because we are running way over time.
Sorry.
I knew this was
like we didn't
happen.
expect. Yeah, we knew 100%.
We knew. Rapid fire round, things I'm still thinking about. Personally, I can't watch any Belmont Camelli interviews because he's not Garrett and he needs to stay Garrett. I don't want to see him wearing jewelry and like stylish clothes. He's a hockey player in my mind, and he needs to stay a hockey player.
Yeah. Thanks. Stop ruining it, Belmont. Just be Garrett forever and always.
Forever. Yeah.
Can't stop thinking about the jocks attending drunk Shakespeare. I think the show so good at blending in communities together, and that everyone could just be who they are and be like, as a drama girl myself, I would have loved to have jocks coming to my kind of theater production. And I think it just, again, is showing the maturity of that kind of younger generation, the Gen Zs and younger ones now, where people are just, you can be who you want to be. It doesn't matter. And I can't stop thinking about the friendships, just the female friendships were just so important to me. You know, I love women and I love men, but I love that the female friendships in here and how well those characters support each other. And there wasn't any nasty girl competition or cattiness. They were there for each other all the time.
And honestly, it was so intentional. I saw a clip where Ella, who plays Hannah, was talking about the chemistry reads. So after they had done their original audition, it came down to chemistry reads, which is like, all right, well, we like you, but how are you going to interact with the other characters? And what I thought was brilliant was for the chemistry reads, Ella had to read with Ellie, not just with Garrett, because that relationship was just as important. And I think that that's really telling in the making of the show, that they do a chemistry read between the friendships, not just the romances.
Yeah. Are not so rapid fire. Anything else for you?
Oh, last thing, Andrea.Bookstar has just created an awesome reading order. So if anyone wants to go and read the books, she does a breakdown. I'm going to link it in the show notes. But there's so many books that Elle Kennedy has written, and there's so many series, and there's a few like novels that are kind of related but different, and she tells you exactly which order to read them in.
Very helpful. Thanks, Mia. That was fun.
It was fun. That's a wrap on Chemistry Read. Please go and watch Heated Rivalry, which is on HBO that you can access through Prime, and Voicemails for Isabel, which is on Netflix, because we are discussing those in upcoming episodes and we don't want to spoil them for you.
So we launched this podcast because we want to build a community of like-minded people who just love to talk about good books, TV, and movies. But it really doesn't work, guys, if it's just me and I chatting into the void. So to launch our podcast, we have organized an amazing giveaway in our Facebook group. I want you to jump in there, read those details, and you can win the most luxury at-home binge night self-care pack. So jump into our Facebook group, Check it out. Join the competition. Can't wait to see it in there.